Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Evening Jumps. So, if you're watching at theeveningjones.com and need to log in, use your Twitter profile, your Facebook profile, whatever you got, go ahead and use that to log in. Once you do that, you can participate in our chat room. You could also send in your questions. You can type them out. We put them up on the screen the old-fashioned way. Or if you got a webcam and headphones, like I got a webcam and headphones, we can kind of rap. Although I mentioned the whole thing about having a webcam and headphones, like I have a webcam and headphones before ultimately realizing that I ain't have my headphones on. Like, I suppose if you're watching this live, that kind of ruins the effect of me talking about if you got on headphones like I got on headphones and I'm sitting here and I ain't got on no headphones. Like, I was actually sitting there looking at myself in the screen as it happened. Like, wow, I feel like I look pretty good today. I don't really have an explanation for that. I'm not especially vain about these sorts of things, but I was looking, I was like, wow, something seems a little bit different. I don't understand what it is. Totally ignoring the fact that I normally got these earmuffs on. World's a strange place. Anyway, anything been up? Anything been going on? You guys see anything shake out in the world? Any of you? Well, before we get to that, I'd like to talk about something that makes everybody happy, right? Everybody happy. You know what makes everybody happy? Hold on, I'm gonna make sure people get in here. So, as some of you know, I went to a wedding over the weekend. My man Pablo Torre got married. It was a very nice wedding that they had. The reception was at the Harvard Club, but it really didn't feel like stuffy like the Harvard Club, I guess, because it was a bunch of us. You know what I mean? So we showed up. We had a very good time. Like, it was cool. I mean, that's the thing. It was a cool event. But the bride and groom did their first dance, and both of them took lessons because neither of them consider themselves to be dancing people. And as a non-dancing person, I was thinking to myself, hey, man, if you're going to have all the people watching you dance and that ain't really your bag, you might want to maybe not even necessarily lessons. I imagine the biggest thing about the lessons is with the lessons you get practice, right? Like, I don't feel like dancing is actually like that hard to do. I'm just not good at it. Like, I don't feel like you can go teach me. Like, it's not that I don't know how to dance. I can't dance. Like, I got rhythm. I can keep the beat, but I can't dance. Like, this is just one of them things that as I became older and things I had to make peace with. And part of me making peace with it was realizing the wonders of something my brother taught me when I was very young, which was the big man two-step. The big man two-step, like I'm 6'4", more or less. The big man two-step will get you by in that circumstance. And people don't expect that much of the tall man because the tall man is kind of fighting against a lot of factors that make the tall man oh so powerful in real life, however, make him oh so susceptible on the dance floor. And little short dudes be some old dancing old motherfuckers, man. And I can't really do that. Ain't for so many Montel Jordans out here. So anyway, bride and groom, first dance. And the song, Let's Stay Together. Like, they had a band playing Let's Stay Together, so it wasn't like the full-on Al Green Let's Stay Together, but it was still Let's Stay Together. And of course, it warmed my heart that, like, Let's Stay Together was their first dance because I love Let's Stay Together. And, I thought about this may happen in more weddings because, Obama and the whole Let's Stay Together thing. And so they danced in the Let's Stay Together, and I realized something about this that I hadn't thought about, right? It was the first time, I believe, in my life that I had ever been listening to Let's Stay Together while being around people who did not feel compelled to sing along to Let's Stay Together from the first note on. Because I want to think about the last time that you were somewhere and Let's Stay Together came on, and there was a group of people, and you wasn't singing. If you have ever been in a place with a group of people when Let's Stay Together comes on. Now, I ain't talking about like if it comes on the jukebox at the Waffle House. You know what I mean? Like, if you saw the BET Awards when Al Green got the Lifetime honor and Let's Stay Together come on, wasn't no need for Al Green to sing. Well, no need for Al Green to sing at all. Because everybody sings Let's Stay Together when Let's Stay Together comes on. And I'm there and I'm at that wedding. And to be clear, like, it's not like I was the only black person at the wedding. Like, it's not one of those circumstances, right? Just for whatever reason, people didn't feel like the automatic magnetic pull that requires for you to sing Let's Stay Together when Let's Stay Together comes on. And I guess it dawned on me, I hadn't considered that white people, even the ones who like Let's Stay Together, don't realize that when Let's Stay Together come on, you're supposed to start singing. Like, that's how it goes. And so it was a very interesting, like, the two Americans kind of moment where Let's Stay Together comes on, and I'm like the only person that's in there singing. Like, I got my camera phone up. Let me be the one you come run. I mean, you ain't got to be able to sing. We just all sing it. You know why? Because none of us can sing like Al Green. Like, there's something liberating about being able to sing Let's Stay Together, because none of us can sing like Al Green. Like, it is, in fact, questionable whether Al Green really can sing, except it doesn't matter because he's Al Green, right? So Al Green starts singing and gets into his own little place. We all get to sing. And so there's a particular liberation that comes from us all being able to stand united and sing Let's Stay Together. And for some reason, people at the wedding didn't want to be free. I tell you this, though, I looked at that dance floor. They was out there free as hell. Ain't no judgment. They was just free as hell. Again, I say this very often. I admire our, I would say Caucasian, but I would extend it for purposes of this discussion to my non black comrades. And I admire you for your willingness to dance badly in front of people, because I simply don't possess that sort of confidence. I don't. White people are under the impression that all black people can dance. Incorrect. The black people that can't dance quit dancing a long time ago. White people who can't dance, ain't nobody telling white people what to do. They out there dancing. Like, you want to see white privilege in action, it's on the dance floor. But here's the thing. It is a measure of white privilege, certainly, but the enforcement on black dancing absolutely 100% comes from black people. Because when you are a black person and you are with white people, you can look around and make a decision that nobody's going to remember this and make sure ain't nobody got no camera phones. And you can then go onto the dance floor and you can do whatever dances make you happy. And you know what? It won't be long because you out there looking like MC goddamn Hammer. Like, you will be out there dancing and there will be a circle around you and it will be, go black guy, go black guy. Like, that will be going, and you could be out there you name it. You could be making stuff up. I'm not talking about choreography. I'm not talking about nothing improvisational. I'm talking about just making stuff up. White people will not judge you. They will not judge you. In fact, they will anoint you their leader. Like, I'm asking this seriously right here. Does anybody have a story as a black person, hell, as a white person, of dancing around white people and feeling judged? Because I've never heard any example of that ever happening in life. It doesn't work that way with black people. It just doesn't, right? Like, it doesn't even work that way with black people at an interracial wedding. Though I will admit, an interracial wedding will make me feel a little bit more free. But black people are judging you to death. To death. Somebody said it was to me. It's like a job interview. Yo, and look, I can't dance, and I'm right here judging. I'm right here judging, right? Like, I go to weddings and I see white people and they're out there dancing and doing whatever the hell they feel, and bless their hearts for doing so. And I really kind of sit there and marvel and watch it like it's a National Geographic special. Like, it's really like watching nature. I mean, it's an Yo, I am back. Now, like I was saying, I absolutely admit to the fact that I have a certain measure of shame that if I do wind up dancing around some white people and some white person like realizes I'm a fraud and laughs at me for not being a very good dancer, that would elicit a measure of shame that makes me very uncomfortable. Like I don't like admitting these things, right? I don't enjoy admitting these things. However, I can't front. I mean, if the white folks were able to identify me as a fraud and then clown me, I mean, what safe space would I have? Because I imagine that for some of those people there, it would be very, very disappointing for them to find out that their cool black friend, Bomani Jones, actually isn't really so good at dancing. Like, I feel like the whole image of me would be taken apart. Now, that's not all of you, right? Some of you see through me, I am sure. But I imagine in these settings as I described, if I arrived and I was not able to cut the rug in a proper fashion, it could be a very bad thing. It could. Anyway, I enjoyed myself at that wedding. And I would like to say shout out to me because I jumped right back in there just to make it easier for Lance to edit it on the podcast. Like if you listen right now on the podcast, you'd have no idea I had to disappear for like 7 minutes trying different browsers and everything else. Crowdcast don't want to work with the things that make it easiest for me and then don't want to make it easy on the next browser. So I had to go on this damn spy trolling browser I never ever want to use because all it's doing is just sucking up my data. And I don't mean my plan, I mean my life. Anyway, I do it for you. I do it for the culture. And I hope that discussing this wedding and the ability to bust moves and get down on grooves was something that has made the last couple of days just a little bit better for those of y'all who need something like that. Anyway, let us move on to your questions. Do you think that Trump's victory was a result of a white lash, as CNN's Van Jones said? So I'm not sure if you guys have heard, but Donald Trump won the election. I will readily admit, I never truly considered the possibility that this dude could win. Right? Like, I never, ever considered the possibility he could win. Let's take this to another level on me never considering the possibility that he could win. I think on a certain level, this all to me sounded like the sort of thing that happens in other countries. Right? So I want you to think about this. Like, think about, I don't want to say that. It's not worth it. Not worth it. All I'm saying is I didn't think that this would happen here. Now, let me tell you what I found to be fascinating in watching the coverage. Like, I was watching on CNN. CNN had that man with the touchscreen map. Like, he was pulling into every county. Man, I learned so much about America's counties. Like, I felt like I knew a decent number already, but no, I learned a lot about America's counties, man. And they were pulling up all these counties all over the place. And I feel like one of the things that I learned is basically the Democrats have been operating on a very dot-centric strategy, which is to say they holding it down in all the places on the map that have dots. Like every time they showed something with a dot, it was blue. If it didn't have a dot, it was red. Like this applied in the South. Applied. If it didn't have a dot, it was red. Like if you look at the pictures of the map where they just put like the whole United States and they show you blue or red, not based on state, but based on just all these little individual dots and counties, man. Like speaking purely in terms of real estate, red got all the land. Right? Red got all the land. That was interesting to watch as it was going on CNN. And so I saw like this. I don't think I saw the beginning of. I didn't see exactly when Van Jones said the line about white lash, but I watched a lot of it, and it was actually very funny because they put Van Jones next to that Corey somebody write it down for me right fast. I'm not really in a position to get this correct. I'm going to mess his name up. Lewandowski? Somebody, please. Why won't you put this in the chat room? Like, I don't want to say the man's name wrong. Oh, you know what? You probably are putting it in, but I don't have like the scroll bar all the way down. So I'm totally missing it. Lewandowski. Oh, it's pronounced like Lewandowski. Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay. Anyway, that dude, he was sitting next to Van Jones, and let's just say that he is not the most gracious of winners. And Van Jones looked like he wanted to punch that dude in the face. Like he really, really, really wanted to still off on that dude. Like at one point, he was like, "Yo, Corey. You won, man. Okay? You won." I mean, he was taking everything in him not to still off on dude. He told homie, like, you're being a really awful person right now. And when people have to take it to things of that level of classiness, but being that direct, they really, really, really want to fight you. Really, really, really want to fight. And so Van Jones is up there with him and Andrew Jackson over there. Man, it was so much. Anyway, so Van Jones made the point about this being a white lash, like the assertion of basically a reassertion of white supremacy is what drove all of this. Here's what I'll say. The Ku Klux Klan is really happy about this. Like, it's not as though this is the first time a white man has ever won an election, but this is the first time that I've seen the Ku Klux Klan like really discharged up about a presidential election. I read something today where you had some white nationalists talking about how a Trump election has brought together their people. So, I think you can make the argument. Now, in the course of the evening, I also ended up watching Fox News. And I don't know if I just caught Fox News at the absolute right time, but the discussion they had was really interesting because I cannot remember the man's name. And I've been telling this story for like the last 48 hours. And I've had ample opportunity to go find out this man's name, and it's never come up. I just never wind up doing it. I mean, because I just don't know. What am I supposed to do? Put in Google Images. White man on Fox News? Like, yeah, that's going to narrow it down. Anyway, he pointed out, he's like, look, Trump won college-educated white people. He broke down all these different, like, stratations of, like, the white vote that Donald Trump won. And he said that this election was about the white vote and that white voters basically behaved as minority groups do in elections, right? Like there was a huge number of white voters that voted as a block, and white voters typically don't vote as a block because there's so many white people that it kind of defeats the purpose, right? They can break into these little groups because it's enough of them, right? Those people don't really feel like that anymore. And with them not feeling like that anymore, not all white people, but certainly a significant number, so with them not feeling like that anymore, they'll feel like they need to click up. And apparently this is what they decided to do, was to click up. So if you don't want to call it a white lash, I don't know. But like the behavior of white voters, considering the fact that white women voted in the majority for Donald Trump against like a white woman who was running. I mean, I don't really think it takes that much to figure out like what drove this. It's right there. And you have to remember the story of the previous two elections was really about the declining significance of the white vote, because it's not as though Obama was getting more white voters than previous Democrats or anything like that. That wasn't happening. He was getting like all the votes from the brown people, like all the votes from the brown people. Trump just flipped calculus up on this, and now we are here. Yeah, now we're here. We tried to do this podcast last night. I imagine we're recording this on Thursday night. I imagine many of you are listening to it on Friday. We tried to do it on Wednesday night. There were computer issues, and just honest to God, I was too tired. I was just legitimately too tired. I was up till about 3:00 in the morning after the election. Because I really, like I said it as it was going on. It was really like that part in Eddie Murphy Delirious where he's talking about white dudes like thinking it's a joke and voting for Jesse Jackson and then waking up and being like, he fucking won. Like, this actually happened. Like, I went to sleep before it was called, but I didn't think it was possible for Obama to win in 2008 until it became like readily apparent that it was going to happen. I never considered that this dude could win, right? It was not like with Obama. I never thought it was possible, and then as the days approached, or whatever it is, became clear that possibilities were there. But with this dude, I never once could happen. Never. And it did. And like the election, I think that most of us were anxious to get to the end to. It's not over, right? Like, none of this is going to be over by any stretch. Now, one thing I think is interesting, though, where people say that Hillary Clinton was simply the wrong candidate. Now, I'm not sure about that, right? She won a majority of the popular vote. So I do think that it's somewhat difficult to say that she was simply the wrong candidate. Like, I suppose you say that they could have found a better candidate, but I need somebody to tell me who that is. Like, you could make the argument that Joe Biden could win this election, but Joe Biden didn't want to be the president. And I think that's a smart play to make. So who you got? Like, who would it be? And so I don't have an answer, for that. I don't think this really has that much to do with who the candidate was on the other side. It has some of it because there are a lot of people who really dislike Hillary Clinton and just absolutely would not vote for her. But the people that would not vote for her, that doesn't answer like the number of people that did vote for Trump. I think that making this about, what was wrong with the candidate opposing Trump misses the point that, based on what we've had here, if there were a different candidate, the race still would have been close. And I don't think that any of us legitimately believed that this was going to be close. And he won. And let me tell you something. I was thinking about this, and this is a very interesting thing to consider because I've been a lot of places and been in a lot, like not really a lot, I suppose, but the people I've talked to and like the settings I've been in, and there are a lot of people who just absolutely feel deflated based upon the end result of this. Just totally and absolutely deflated. It's like a mix of like kind of confusion and disappointment. There's a measure of panic, I think, from some people about like what happens next. There's a lot of, I think, people who wound up with a real swirl of emotions to it. And I remember somebody sent me a text and he asked me if the way that he felt was the same way that like a lot of white voters must have felt in 2008 after Obama won. And I was like, that's an interesting juxtaposition, except when you think about it, the juxtaposition is as follows. They were mad at that time that a Black person won. And I'm not even necessarily saying that there perhaps was not a Black person that they could have found to be palatable, right? Like your man in South Carolina, Tim Scott, the senator, right? Like maybe it goes over differently and there's not like the backlash against him, right? So, I mean, maybe it's possible there. But, I mean, it was basically the issue is a Black person. The issue that people seem to have with Trump is that it's that white dude. Like, not just any old white dude. Like, we have plenty of white dudes who have been elected president of the United States. This is the first time I've seen a white dude get elected and a significant number of people be like, yo, I think we've really got a problem here. Like, hey, I'm not exactly sure what it is that we are supposed to do. Like, I mean, people were really hitting me, like, legitimately talking about, what conversations they are going to have with their children, because they feel like it is very difficult to use, like, our typical role model structure. And, like, normally, no matter who the president of the United States is, like, the president of the United States is somebody that is held within of a certain level of esteem that you can encourage people to be like them. A whole lot of people don't really feel like that this time. They don't. And this I'll say, because once again, I've been very transparent about this fact. My employers would like me to be very careful about what we say about the president-elect. And I think that that's a very good idea for a number of reasons, the majority of which I will not discuss here. However, let's just say that you are someone who believes that Donald Trump is a misogynist. And so if you are a woman who believes that Donald Trump is a misogynist, I think it kind of feels like 50 million people like just called you out your name. And like if you're the type who believes that Donald Trump is a racist, then it probably has to feel like 50 million people just called you out your name. I mean, I think that's a serious emotional burden to consider. Like, I can't think of a time that I've seen this many people like really be emotionally affected by the outcome of an election. And I think a lot of it is plausible, I mean, I guess we'll see, what ultimately happens. I guess that would have been the case no matter who it is. And I suppose that we would look at this with a certain level of fascination if this were in the international page, except it's not in the international page. Like, it's here. Like, this really happened. Like, let's see how it goes. Like, I don't think it's a partisan statement at all to say that a year ago, I didn't think that this was at all possible. And in fact, most people did not think that this was possible. The people who thought this was possible are in a very small number. So there's absolutely nothing controversial as far as I'm concerned about saying that you can't, some people warned it. I don't really understand how many people actually see it coming. Yeah. Good luck, everybody. Appreciate the question. Let me see what else we got here. Do you blame people who did not vote? Yeah. Let's talk about the shaming of people who don't vote, because I've discussed this topic at different points. And I admit that there's a level of frustration that I have with the shaming of people who do not vote. Now, I believe that I think that you're making a mistake if you observe people who do not believe that they possess political efficacy, right? So they are not engaged in the political process because they do not feel they have any legitimate power in the political process. That is not an unreasonable thing for people to believe, right? It's just not. So if you decide that for you it's not worth the time of going to vote, your one individual vote is not changing a thing. Now, you can make the argument that there needs to be a large, more macro level discussion about the importance of voting and the importance of lots of people getting out to vote. And I would absolutely and totally agree on that fact. There is power in blocks of voters. There is little to no power in a single solitary vote. I mean, that's just how it works. So if somebody makes the decision that they don't feel like it, or they don't want to, or they don't remember, or, you know, it is the larger fault of the republic for creating a circumstance under which people believe that their votes are irrelevant. Like, I'm not shaming them for that. I would agree that there is a problem with the idea that people don't believe that their engagement in the political system matters. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend as though there has not been a climate created that makes that a reasonable thing to presume. Simple as that. Now, I do think that shaming people who vote is a pastime of people who they themselves vote. And, you know, they stay up on issues and stuff like that, but they ain't really out here like in these streets doing nothing. But they make the very basic contribution to the, you know, to the political system, which is with their vote. And bless their hearts for that, by the way. I want to be clear about that. Bless their hearts for it. I vote, and good for them for voting, right? But let's not pretend like we know damn heroes for it. We going, we waiting in line, and we bubbling. That's what we're doing, right? So we are doing our part. We are exercising our right. There is nothing for us to be impressive about the fact that we have gone and vote. But when you go and you shame people who did not vote, like, I understand the idea that voting is very important to you and the power of voting is very important to you, but we also can't like ignore the fact that people in a lot of ways are using the fact that they voted to elevate themselves over these other people. And so that's how you wind up with these nonsensical arguments of like, well, if you didn't vote, you don't get to complain about everything. Yo, if that were the case, then voting would be like a conscription. Like, they would legally make everybody vote if that was what was required for you to be treated like a citizen. You don't have to vote to be treated like a citizen. You get to complain about not being treated like a citizen because you're a citizen. You don't have to do anything truly to earn that. Not even the small act of voting. Now, I got a certain level of privilege that makes it easy for me to go vote, right? So I think we need to acknowledge that. I also think that we got a lot of people that shame the folks who didn't vote, but also didn't have nearly as much to say about the fact that some people, even if they did want to vote, found themselves on the wrong side of a lot of impediments placed before them by the governments of their states. And so I was having this discussion about Colin Kaepernick with this, and I got to tell you, anybody that's out here on the Kaepernick loses legitimacy for and you got more to say about that than you did about the fact that we actually like jumped in a time machine on the Voting Rights Act. Like, that's what we really did. We jumped in a time machine and rolled it back. Like, if you got more of a problem with one man saying he didn't vote than that, like, you could argue that the dude should have voted. I would argue that the dude should have voted. But if you start extrapolating too much out of that, number one, you don't really know too many anti-establishment figures, because this isn't really very much an uncommon thing, like to participate in the system as such. And I agree that there's some questions to be asked whether or not that's the best way to go about things. However, if you think nothing else he says mattered because he didn't vote, man, you were just looking for a reason not to listen to that dude. That's all it was, because you perpetually had that dude on stage. But again, Stop being so impressed with yourself because you voted. Appreciate the question. Let me see what else we got here. Should we care if these new age rappers respect the rappers of past generations? Well, I think that this is a very interesting question that touches on something that honestly I really hadn't thought of in this context, but gave me a bit of an epiphanous moment that I'm going to try to work out live with you as we record this video podcast. And I hope you'll afford me the luxury of perhaps not being all the way right about all of it because I just thought about it here, right? So, like, hip hop sites do like to shame young rappers when they say stuff like, I've never heard a Biggie out, right? They like to do that. They really, really, really like to do this to young rappers. And I think that there are a couple of things that they need to consider before they do this. Number one, there is no place with a great level of like, yeah, you got the internet out there, and the internet affords people the luxury of going and finding out about anything that you want, but you got to know what exactly to go find out about. So, like, a lot of us grew up where our parents are listening to music, or you listen to the old folks radio station and you hear the jams from back in the day, and that can kind of guide you into the directions that you want to go in, right? You can't really do that with rap. Like, there aren't that many like classic rap stations in the way that they're classic soul stations, in the way they're classic rock stations. Like, the access to the greats is not exactly there, like in the ways that it would be if there were a radio force that kind of drove it. Like, so then you actually wind up asking people to go actively seek this stuff out, which is not something that happens that often, right? But I think we would all have to admit here that the music would be a lot better if the kids had a little more respect for how we used to do it back in the day, right? Like, there's no way that listening to great music from the time that comes before you cannot make you better at the music that you make right now. It's just not possible. Like, I mean, that's the way that the game goes. So it's like, I would prefer if the youngsters had respect for the people that I have respect for, but I'm more concerned with, like, are they listening to the music, and are they able to impart things from that music into what they're doing right now? Because that's what winds up making it interesting and compelling and fascinating, right? Like, that's what I care about. But otherwise, man, youngsters are always like that, man. Youngsters ain't got no respect for nobody. Oh, like that's really just not how it works. But again, I thought that was a good question. Thank you for asking. Let me see what else we got here. Did Martin Shkreli redeem himself at all by streaming the $2 million Wu-Tang album? You guys may remember this guy. Isn't he the dude that got the AIDS drug and they jacked up the price of it? And then he thought all that noise to Ghost. I want nothing more than for Ghost to meet that dude somewhere and then write a song about it. Like, really, nothing more in this world will please me. Who? Somebody please make that happen. Sorry for taking a little while. This particular platform doesn't do a great job of helping me go back and like find the question that I just answered and get it out the way. Anyway, we'll go to another one. Loading up the questions. Oh, I just saw it go. Oh, here we go. Thoughts on what to expect from Dave Chappelle on Saturday Night Live. So yeah, this is very interesting. They got Chappelle for right after the Trump election. I, well, I mean, they didn't know it was going to be the Trump election, but still, I have no idea what we're going to get. Like, I mean, because on one level, like he's been talking about this stuff in his stand-up, and you can look that up, and I think you can get a pretty good idea of like what the monologue is going to be. But we got to remember one thing with Saturday Night Live is like they got Leslie Jones writing. They've got, Dave will be in there writing. Saturday Night Live, I have found has a lot of sketches that involve black people that quite honestly I watch and I am not sure if white people are in on the jokes. I mean, it's that kind of stuff. So what in the world are they going to come up with then in the presence of Dave Chappelle? I don't have a great answer for that. I am also very curious to know if Dave Chappelle is going to dress up like a white man. And because if he does that now in 2016, I feel like he'll wind up in a bunch of arguments that I personally would want to avoid if I were Dave Chappelle. So yeah, this could be really interesting. Also, Tribe's going to be on, and so I kind of like but don't quite love Tribe. That's just me. Like I realize what Tribe does for other people. It doesn't affect me the same way. It just doesn't. Um, but yeah, I know y'all are gassed up about it. So I hope it gives you everything that you're looking for. However, Tribe Called Quest hasn't put out a great album since 1993. Like when Tribe left the scene, I was not clamoring for more Tribe. Like I think they had their run and their run was good. I don't need to jump in the time machine for that. Appreciate the question. Did Anderson Paak top Malibu with a new album? I guess this is the No Worries album. So I checked that out the other day in the car. Cause I mean, I was still on Malibu. So I didn't need like a new Pac album, right? Like I was good to take a little time with it. But this came out. I heard a lot of people say a lot of good things about it. And I listened to it and absolutely hell no, it does not top Malibu. Like Malibu feels like a fully formed and conceived project. This No Worries joint just kind of feels like a bunch of jokes. And the jokes are funny and the jokes often sound good and he is very good. But I mean, it just sounds like a mixtape. Like just some stuff the dudes are messing around and doing. So like, no. This ain't Malibu. Malibu's something completely different. Malibu's, oh boy, like if he could put out two Malibus in 1 year, like I feel like it'd be time to retire. Appreciate the question. Let me see what we got here. Do you think Michelle Obama is a realistic candidate for 2020? Candidate for what? Like, that's not to say that she is not a capable or qualified person to be a candidate. No. But like as a candidate that would have like an actual real life chance of winning? Of course not. Come on, man. Look here. If Hillary Clinton could not win running for president, I need you to tell me what makes you think that Michelle Obama could. What? Because she's smart and educated and seems to get along with people? Come on now. Seriously. You saw what happened when her husband ran for president, and he's a man. A man, I tell you, a man. You think it's going to go better for his wife? Come on now. There ain't no way in the world they crazy enough to go through another 4 to 8 years of this. Ain't no way America would allow them the opportunity to do so. Yeah. Come on, guys. Let's be real. All right, so I got this thing going right now where it's like froze on my display. Like my face been is one way the whole time. I don't know if you can see me or not. All right, Lance just told me that you can still see me. Problem is, it's done in such a way that I can't really scroll to no more questions. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here on the Evening Jones. We try to do this as often as we can. My man Lance Gilliam handles everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Remember, if you can't catch the Evening Jones live, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the iTunes store, subscribe at Stitcher Radio, subscribe to Google Play Store. Also, check us out on SoundCloud. I hope to talk to you guys next week. Take it easy.